Okay, so business check-in. Here's the roller coaster, because we've all been on a roller coaster, whether we're following the news closely or not. And my first observation from dozens of calls with product leaders at dozens of companies is that a lot of this depends on the industry you're in and the situation for your specific industry. So if you're in the travel business or the retail business or the restaurant business, et cetera, your business may be going away. Certainly it's going to take a huge hit. We saw that Eventbrite laid off about half of their staff because they're in the business of selling tickets to live events mostly. And that's not happening very much. We've seen the airlines contract dramatically. J.Crew, among others in the major retail space, have closed their doors, declared bankruptcy, and it's all over for them. Airbnb, clearly they're in the travel destination business, renting folks' houses out to other visitors. They just did a 25% layoff. So if you're in an industry that's taking it on the chin because you're a direct recipient of all the goodness of coronavirus, I think the discussion is about how do you keep your business alive between now and when things might or might not return to normal. But other segments, so there's a few bright spots here. We're seeing some areas where, in fact, the move to shelter in place and the move online has really boosted some companies. If you're building online tools, and we'll talk about Zoom a little bit later, if you're doing online entertainment, I know that the Netflix folks have been tremendously challenged to address all the scalability and throughput and pipes they need to deliver all of the cool content we're watching at home. Anybody doing physical delivery of stuff, so it's not just Amazon, it's all of the Grubhubs and folks who are delivering food and groceries, big uptick, and the part of healthcare that's around crisis management. So if you're working on new vaccines, I think you're working 24/7. There's a third group here which I see as really slowing down, and it's going to depend a lot on how this plays out over the next few months. But if you're in enterprise software, most of the conversations I'm hearing are that the enterprise customers for those may have slowed down or put the brakes on deals and new installations, but we think they're mostly coming back depending on what sector they're in. If you're in the financial space, banks are still in business, brokerages are still in business, but your plans may have changed. Manufacturing, we're seeing a really scattered variety depending on what you build and who it's for. So clearly, if you're making airline parts, it's not as good as if you're making equipment for some of the food service industries. So it's important before we bother to talk about your specific product plan over the next few quarters that you've got some idea of where your business is going. And I know everybody's been struggling with this. They don't need me to tell them. So you're already working on this. Here's a generic chart I put together where suddenly revenue goes down and operating costs don't. I've had a whole series of conversations with heads of product where they're drawing up the spreadsheet that shows a 20% staff cut and a 40% staff cut and maybe a 60% staff cut. So figuring out, how your business is going to survive and what we do for the folks who stay, right? Some kind of guesses, again, prediction's really hard, especially about the future. I think that was Yogi Berra. But, what's the new reality and your best guesses for revenue and customers over the rest of the year? And then where is this going to play out in terms of staff? Some folks are doing deep cuts, closing their doors. Some are pretty protected, but doing staff reassignments or shuffling in the short term so they can answer lots more, for instance, customer support calls on new issues, right? And I am talking to a few folks, again, particularly in online services and software, who are ramping up hiring right now. And it's a great time if it happens to be your little subset of the world, because there's a lot of great people being left on the side of the employment road right now. I know a bunch of them. If you're looking to hire, give me a holler, because I know where some of the great talent is hiding. Good. And then just pointing out the obvious, your product strategy is really a subset of your business strategy. If you're not sure your business is going to survive, much of this discussion may be a little more academic than if you're seeing it up and to the right because you're doing something that's suddenly in demand. So, again, get a good handle on where the business is going, because it's impossible, I think, to talk about product strategy and product shifts if you're not really clear on the top line and how folks are doing.